Hey, what's up? I just thought I would come over here to express how I feel. And I just feel bummed about the Bad Brains not being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You don't even need to vote for that. You just need to put them in there. There should not just be like nominate. I mean, forget the nominations, forget even the votes. You just need to put the Bad Brains in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I know the band probably does not give a care about even any of that stuff, but the fact that the Bad Brains were like a definite innovation, definite innovators, and just they and great musicians. I mean that just oh man, like I feel like I can't even describe like there's no words to describe Bad Brains. Yes, they are a punk rock band. You could call them heavy metal at some point. You can call them hard rock. You can call them progressive metal. You could call them alternative metal. You could call them a lot of stuff. And a lot of that stuff is true because a lot of the things, I mean, they innovated a lot of that, like hardcore. I mean, shoot. I mean, it's one thing that you're playing this, the punk rock that they're playing and stuff like that. But then they sped it up. They were among those that sped it up even more and just rode it to the hilt, let alone what they did. It was just like, man, like just all the changes, the runs, like the crazy fusionist, like Mahavishnu Orchestra type, arpeggio run type thing, start, stop timing, and, HR singing, crooning, shrieking, wailing, freaking like swooning and just hollering and basically like singing a whole paragraph into one sentence, on point. Like, I mean, how do you sing that fast, man, and just be like articulate in doing that? I mean, I can't. I feel like even a song like Pay to Come, like I can't even, I've read the lyrics and I just have to, like I fake it, I don't even know what I'm doing, man. Like I try to even sing that, man. It's just, then you have like Daryl who, not only is he playing on a mean distorted bass, especially on that first album, like this is, I mean, shoot, he's done a lot of other things, aside from them, like putting chords in there and all kinds of interesting stuff, man. Like, shoot, like then you have Dr. No playing riffs and melodies at the same time and these leads that just freaking like rule and rock the hell out of Madness, man. Seriously, dude. Like, I mean, that brother was like doing like, I mean, some of his leads, listen to that dude's leads, man, like on any song, man, just amazing. And just like, how could I even, I mean, he'll make something that sounds atonal and even dissonant, but make it sound like the most happiest, joyous thing ever and liberating and just like beautiful. I like a lot of dissonant stuff, but I know what he's doing. I mean, man, like how could I even describe what they do, what he does, and what all of them do, like then you got Earl with that church beat on that first album, but then even after that, he did a lot of great stuff, with just the way he was playing and all that, and shoot, and then they of course, were one of those punk bands that kind of just wanted to play roots reggae too, so they had a lot of that in there, and just they were definitely innovative, especially me being a black punk rocker that had a spiritual sense, like I'm, here I am, this black Christian punk rocker, back in the day, like late 80s, early 90s, into progressive rock and all this punk stuff and metal and all that too, so it was like they were all of that, even though, they weren't Christians, they were more Rastas and stuff like that. For me, it was inspirational just to hear God being talked about in a positive light with that kind of music. This was even before I even found I found out about a lot of the Christian hardcore bands that I discovered later. It was just encouraging. And plus just being a black punk rocker or rocker, just, and me playing like, music too. It was just like, wow, like, I mean, Jimmy is who got me into wanting to play, but it was so cool to see, and then seeing Living Color, like anybody that, was playing rock and roll. I have a series on Instagram called The Black History of Rock and Roll. If you want to check it out, you could hashtag that and you'll see a lot of stuff. I mean, I got stuff going from the 20s to now. Well, most of it, actually, a lot of it's from the 70s. I mean, I kind of 70s and 80s, I kind of ended, actually 70s, 80s, and 90s. I didn't really have a lot of bands from the 2000s. There's a lot more now, but I wanted to delve more into the history of that, but I digress. I could talk about that later, getting back to Bad Brains. So it was really cool to see, it was very inspirational for me to see that these brothers were, playing the kind of music that they were playing, and they were just no holds bar about it. It was loud, fast, and obnoxious. But even like when we're talking about the Bad Brains music, they did things that even when they were playing most of their songs fast on the earlier albums, you could still hear elements of other stuff. Like, I mean, shoot, it's like Cameo wrapped up in Doomsday music, which they called Doomsday music Sabbath and Budgie and like Zeppelin and all that. They were into that stuff. Like Cameo wrapped up in Doomsday Sabbath type music with some Mahavishnu orchestra, in there, and then they're gonna play some reggae next, like just sped up though, like it's just they were definitely a band that were ferocious and just amazing and just liberating, just amazing. But even when you slow that stuff down, I listen because I play, so I'm hearing all kinds of stuff going on, and it's what they were doing when they were playing fast. And I don't know how many people got that, but you hear, that stuff's a trip, dude. Like, when they kind of slowed things down on like Eye Against Eye, you started to hear more of what they were doing. I heard it while they were playing fast, but you start hearing all the instruments and, different nuances that they're putting on and stuff like that. But they're just basically, it seemed like they're just, I'm sorry, I can't put my words together. Like the fact that they, were playing some of the songs in different tempos and doing what they were doing, just showed basically what they were doing even when they were playing fast. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. And then when you get to an album like Quickness, it's like, man, like that album is one of the most slept on albums in my opinion. That album had all kinds of things going on. From hip hop to, of course, reggae and the hardcore and a lot of heavy metal like riffs and stuff. But like, kind of like just, man, it was an interesting album, man. That album was very diverse. Every song was completely different keys and all of that. That I think it's one of my favorite albums because of it. How I heard about the Bad Brains actually is my friend Jason Eads. Wherever you are, man, I hope you see this. Actually, I had read an article in Spin magazine. I saw pictures of HR in there looking like, those brothers look like they could have been in Still Pulse, But then, they surprised people with playing this crazy, like, hardcore kamikaze thrash punk type stuff, and just, they just blew my mind, man. Like, I read that interview with them and I wanted to check them out. So my friend, Jason, I traded him my Yes tape. I was into prog rock back then too, still into all that stuff. And he wanted, to check that out. So we traded tapes. And it was the first album on the first side. The first demo on the first side, their Roar Sessions. And then there was the Quickness on the I heard that, man. I played that tape, especially the first side, to the point where the tape broke. It broke, dude. My brother-in-law, rest in peace, Larry, had to tape it back. And I played it more and more and more. It was like nothing even happened to it because he knew how to fix those things. gave it back to my friend. You know, I dubbed it on my little 2 cassette, you know, radio. We had that back in the day. You know, like they had the 2 cassettes where you could dub one from another. Well, I don't know if all you millennials even know about that now, but yeah, I dubbed some of the tape on that, and just amazing, man. I've been a fan ever since. You know, like I've seen them probably a few times, and the thing is, like they were definitely a driving force, and kind of pretty much like like brought on, you know, one of those bands and major bands to bring on the whole hardcore punk thing. You know, I mean, shoot, bands like, you know, The Damned, you know, who they were influenced by, kind of helped presage that. But, you know, all these American bands thought that they would just kick it up another notch. I mean, shoot, you had, you know, Middle Class in LA, you had The Hates in Texas, you had, you know, I can't forget about Black Flag, of course, from LA. And you know, the Bad Brains from DC. And, you know, there's other bands, of course, like SS in Japan and all that. And even, you know, that's a whole nother subject, you know, talking about hardcore or something like that. And we can talk about that another time. But yeah, it's like every band like just kicked it up a notch, you know, and they just, the way that the Bad Brains did it was just like, what? You know, it was like, and it's not to take away from the other bands at all, but it's just the way that they did it was just like, how on earth, you know, like what the heck, all that. I mean, you know, shoot, I obviously heard them like probably almost 10 years, you know, later, but it's just, I mean, to play that fast and just to do like all the stuff that they were doing, I mean, like tight, is just like, man, how do you do that? You know, like just an amazing band. I think that they should be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, like those guys have not only influenced, like tons of bands, but they've also influenced like a lot of things in music. I mean, it's one thing where you're playing, you know, this punk rock, which became hardcore, and it's another thing where, you know, you're playing, you've even influenced a lot of things, like stuff like alternative metal, which I don't think that they've ever gotten props for that. But you could hear a lot of Bad Brains in that. And even some of the, as much as, I don't know if I should say this, you know, even bands that like play like a lot of down tempo stuff, you know, like even some, not all, maybe I'm correct me if I'm wrong, some of the rap metal stuff too. I think that they had an influence on a lot of that, either directly or indirectly. You know, the Bad Brains, they were just more than a band. It was almost like a movement, you know, like, shoot, of course they played reggae and they fused a lot of other stuff, and those guys all had different projects and stuff, but they were just an amazing band, man. And it's a shame that they didn't get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, just because they did influence a lot of different people, and they were innovative, and I feel like my words are so elementary to describe them. It's not even like, I feel like I'm not even doing it justice by doing this video, but I just had to get all this out. Hands down, the Bad Brains, I mean, shoot, they were a force to be reckoned with. And even people that I know that are older than me that saw them back then, they said that, you know, they just killed, man. And like, you know, bands that I've heard, you know, like say that they didn't want to go on after them because they were just amazing. Another thing, you know, I was cracking up. I did some punk rock karaoke thing like some years back, and these guys, a bunch of veteran punk rock cats in different bands. When I asked them if they could play this Bad Brain song, they were just like, "Oh man, this is this is kind of hard," you know, like. But it was cool, and they did a great job, man. And I did my thing, and you know, I tried to pull off the vocals. You know, I mean, shoot, I could talk about this stuff all day, but man, my mustache is attacking me again. Hands down, though, dude, like Bad Brains needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whether you voted for them, whether they were nominated or not. You know, like that's just inevitable. You know, like they man, I don't know if I can say anything. I feel like I'm not doing anything by saying anything, man, because I just feel like I'm without words, man. But that's my message. I just, if any of you guys from the Bad Brains see this, and sorry if I'm totally not being articulate with trying to describe what you guys have done. You know what you've done, and thank you. Thank you for just rocking the hell out of madness. And especially with all the stuff that you went through, I've seen that movie, like, oh man. But your love for the music and for the people, kept you playing and kept you rocking madness and influenced people like myself and a lot of other youth out there. So thank you guys, man. Whether you get into some award show or not, enough respect to you guys, man. Dig the Bad Brains. I'm sure all the other Bad Brains fans will say the same. And I'm sorry to anyone, including the band, if this video is just kind of sounds like I'm just ranting. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to say. Maybe I'm not being as articulate, but you guys get the message. The Bad Brains should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, hands down. It don't matter whether they were voted in or nominated in or anything like that. They should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Peace, you guys. Peace in the name of the Most High. Peace. Salam ta.